สวัสดีคุณผู้ชมทุกท่านนะครับพบกับผมนายเลดมูฟและวันนี้เราก็อยู่กับเอเลียนไฟทีมอีลีทอีกเช่นเคยนะครับและเราก็จะมาต่อกันเลยนะครับกับการแปลข้อมูล Intel แล้วก็บทสนทนาของ NPC ภายในเกมนะครับโดยในคลิปที่แล้วเราได้พูดถึงร้อยโทซานโตสไปแล้วนะครับแล้วก็วันนี้เราจะมาพาทุกท่านไปรู้จักกับ NPC อีกตัวหนึ่งนะครับโดยวันนี้เราจะอยู่กับ NPC คนนี้ครับ NPC คนนี้มีชื่อว่า10โทซาวาเน่ครับซึ่ง10โทซาวาเน่คนนี้นะครับเป็นเจ้าหน้าที่ฝ่ายข้อมูลของหน่วยนาวิกโยธินอาณานิคมนะครับหรือ Colonial Marine ซึ่งชื่อหน่วยก็มีชื่อว่าเดี๋ยวก่อนนะ CMI SRS นะครับซึ่งหน่วยนี้จะเป็นเหมือนกับหน่วยข่าวกรองที่คอยหาข้อมูลความเคลื่อนไหวของทั้งบริษัทเวแลนด์หรือว่าฝ่ายอาณานิคมต่างๆนะครับโดยที่ว่าหน่วยนี้จะทำหน้าที่เป็นเหมือนกับสายลับแล้วก็เฝ้าระวังภัยทางไซเบอร์ต่างๆทั้งหมดเลยนะครับงั้นเดี๋ยวเพื่อไม่ให้เสียเวลาแล้วนะครับเราไปรับชมแล้วก็รับฟังกันเลยนะครับว่าซาวาเน่จะมีข้อมูลอะไรมาให้เรานะครับ
We told you that 25 years ago, Katanga was falsely reported destroyed. In 2175, Siegson had moved it to the mid-rim. 2 years later, the colony it serviced was overrun by xenomorphs. Survivors fled to Katanga, where the infestation spread. Colonial Marines responded to their distress call. It was Marines who claimed Katanga was scuttled. A senior staff officer on site conspired to hand the young hive over to Wayland Yutani. Sadly, yes. General Delilah Van, one of the conspirators responsible for the frontier war in 2184. Before her disgrace, she rose to assistant commandant of the corps. Colonial Marine officers conspired with Wayland Yutani executives to provoke a war between the United Americas and the Union of Progressive Peoples. The generals wanted a decisive war after decades of proxy conflicts and containment. Wayland Yutani merely wanted to drive arms sales. The Colonial Protection Act was passed to prevent such things from happening again, and Commissars was initially formed to monitor outside influences on the Corps. There were no reported sightings, not in any star system visited by humans, and not recorded by any vessel in transit. Most likely, Wayland Yutani moved Katanga to a location in deep space, far off the shipping lanes. They used it as an ant farm to breed experimental stock. When the company wanted to accelerate their experiments at Paula Station, they moved it here. Siegson reported something unusual on the far side of the planet from their settlement. It became the focus of the entire colony's efforts. The xenomorph outbreak began at that remote site and spread back to the main complex. The colonists ultimately abandoned the surface and fled to Katanga. Some evacuees proved to be infected and the infestation flared up again. There was discord among the survivors, unspecified personal grievances. A few deaths were involved. Forgive us if we don't identify the system. It's classified. The planet has suffered a global extinction event around 80 years previous. It was nearly devoid of animal life. Biomes had begun to collapse for lack of pollination. Acidic soil and water were spreading, and the atmosphere was growing over-oxygenated, which made it perfect for the mass importation of Earth livestock. Judging by the embryo gene lines in their cargo manifests, the colony hoped to become known for its steaks. Dr. Honoka's ID. I have a copy of your scan. Corporate badges contain employee personnel files. Likely nothing we didn't already know, but it's best to be thorough. Timothy Honoka was born in New York City. Interesting. Most born on Earth stay there. His family was reasonably well off, though he's paying rather exorbitant educational loans. He earned a doctorate in xenoanthropology from Wayland University, Mars campus, a controversial program. There have never been any alien cultures to study. Courses mix terrestrial archaeology with studies in exoplanetary sciences. One must understand the dirt one digs in, I suppose. This is interesting. According to Wayland Yutani's own files, Dr. Honoka is presently cataloging the contents of a warehouse on Alexandria. It's likely we're the only ones who know his true location. You pulled data off a company tablet. Excellent. Allow us to decrypt. It contains an InfoSec bulletin to employees. Unsecured electronic records may be cracked by the Colonial Marines' intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance service. We applaud their foresight. Commissars formed after the Frontier War. With the passage of the Colonial Protection Act, we provided oversight to eliminate corporate influence on the Colonial Marines. Over time, our mandate expanded to most intelligence tasks. Strategically, we enjoy all the sources you'd expect, from cyber warfare backdoors to interstellar keyhole probes. Tactically, we supervise Marine sniper and recon teams. Frontline Marines often mistrust Commissar's motivation, which is regrettable. We all serve in our own ways. Oh, your family is doing quite well, by the way. I thought you'd want to know. Dr. Honecker's non-disclosure agreement. Interesting. Weyland-Yutani didn't name the facility he was assigned to. There's nothing about Pala Station or his specific duties. Its liabilities and penalties, all work belongs to the company, and so on. The closest they get to describing Pala Station's experiments on xenomorphs is a mention of hazardous conditions. Given the nature of your duties, you hereby forfeit any right to workplace injury compensation. It's interesting that Dr. Honecker was unaware of Site 2, the xenoarchaeological ruins the company acquired pathogen from, two completely isolated task cells, each unaware of what the other was working on, or even of the other team's presence. Excellent operational security. You scanned a badge for Cynthia Rodriguez. May I have a copy? Corporate IDs contain a personnel file. We know Rodriguez was a cover identity for a synthetic controlled by Paula Station's mother computer, Cynthia. Her employee of record is a cover story crafted by Weyland-Yutani's IT division. It claims Rodriguez served in the Colonial Marines and achieved the rank of colonel. Checking. Records in our own systems corroborate. I'm getting a full service record. Scans of handwritten commendations from her notional superiors, even fitness reports. This is very thorough forgery. We're impressed. To inject false records into personnel command databases, the Rodriguez cover identity must have been initially crafted before the Frontier War. Weyland-Yutani no longer has such access. A corporate intelligence report. Recent border activity by the Union of Progressive Peoples, a subject of concern to commissars as well. The UPP has been a rival of the United Americas and our nominal allies in the Three-World Empire for much of the last century. There are frequent confrontations with the UPP's space operating forces. Things were more contained before the hiatus revolts of the 50s and 60s. Lack of attention to corporate abuses in the colonies drove many to embrace the UPP's anti-capitalist sentiments. To summarize the current balance of power, we enjoy the most robust industry. Our three WE allies possess the finest technology, but the UPP has the largest population base. Most Marines refer to UPP forces as proggies. They often call us corporatists.
ก็จบกันไปแล้วนะครับกับข้อมูลของซาวาเน่นะครับเห็นได้ชัดเลยครับว่าซาวาเน่มีความรู้เรื่องเกี่ยวกับข้อมูลของฝ่ายต่างๆที่มีอยู่ภายในจักรวาลของเอเลี่ยนFireteam Eliteนะครับโดยนับว่าซาวาเน่รู้เรื่องข้อมูลในเชิงลึกไม่ต่างอะไรกับร้อยโทซานโตสเลยครับเท่าที่ดูก็คงจะหมดแค่นี้แหละนะสำหรับ10โทซาวาเน่ครับไว้เดี๋ยวเรามาต่อกันในคลิปต่อไปนะครับสุดท้ายนี้นะครับถ้าชอบคลิปนี้ก็อย่าลืมกดไลค์กดแชร์แล้วก็อย่าลืมให้กำลังใจกันด้วยนะครับแล้วก็มาพบกันในคลิปต่อไปนะครับจะเป็น NPC ตัวไหนก็รอติดตามกันดูได้เลยนะครับสำหรับคลิปนี้ผมนายเลดวูฟขอลาท่านผู้ชมทุกท่านไปก่อนนะครับพบกันใหม่ในคลิปหน้านะครับสำหรับคลิปนี้สวัสดีครับ